Miss Faye, this is the faked death service you booked with us. The time of death is scheduled for your wedding in half a month. The method of death will be suicide by jumping into the sea. The subject is yourself. Please sign here to confirm. Faye nodded and signed her name at the bottom of the document without hesitation. On the bustling street, Faye walked home alone. She looked up and saw the large advertising screen on a nearby building replaying the video of Ethan's proposal to her. In the video, he was on one knee, the hand holding the ring trembling slightly. A rare sight for such a composed man. The moment he heard her say, "I do," the tears he had been holding back streamed down his face. The beautiful scene moved two girls standing next to Faye to hug each other, their voices filled with envy. Oh my God, Ethan really loves Faye so much. I know, right? He's the ultimate romantic. I heard they were childhood sweethearts. He confessed his love to her when he was 17. At 20, he had a crown made for her with the world's most expensive pink diamond, saying she would always be his princess. When she was 23 and had a car accident, the hospital was short of her rare blood type. He donated his own blood against everyone's advice, nearly draining himself to save her. At 26, he proposed on a global live broadcast, and finally won the heart of the girl he loves most. How can there be a man who dotes on his wife so much? Faye didn't listen any further, her eyes downcast to hide the self-mockery in them. Everyone envied her and Ethan's love story. Everyone said Ethan was madly in love with her. So no one would ever imagine that this very man had been hiding a young internet celebrity in a secret apartment for 3 whole years. When she discovered that the countless nights he claimed to be busy with work were actually spent entwined with the other woman, her heart felt as if it had been gouged out by a sharp blade, leaving a bloody, mangled mess. Looking through the lurid photos, she vaguely remembered when she was 15. Her parents were divorcing, fighting viciously over who wouldn't have to take her. It was Ethan who had pushed open the door, taken her hand, and said, word for word, "If you don't want her, I do." From that day on, Ethan had given her all his heart. He had broken 3 ribs in a fight for her. He remembered every one of her periods. His social media was filled with pictures of her. All his friends said he was completely obsessed with Faye. When he put the wedding ring on her finger, he had kissed her through his tears, his voice filled with pleading, begging her to love him forever, begging her never to leave him. He said if she ever left, he would go mad. He was the one who said he couldn't live without her. Yet he was the one who betrayed her first. Since that was the case, she would fake her own death, change her name, and disappear from his world completely. So he could never find her again. Faye wiped a stray tear from the corner of her eye. Just as she was about to leave, a Maybach screeched to a halt in front of her. A tall figure emerged from the back seat and strode towards her. "Faye, didn't we agree you'd wait for me at home? I was going to pick you up to try on wedding dresses after work. Why did you come out alone?" Ethan spoke as he took her hand, noticing how cold her fingers were. He quickly took off his coat and draped it over her. "Your hands are freezing, and you're not even wearing a coat. Are you trying to get sick and worry me to death?" Faye didn't speak, just quietly looked up at him. The concern in his eyes seemed genuine, which only confused her more. How could one person love 2 people at the same time? Ethan tightened the coat around her and was about to lead her to the car when the 2 girls from before noticed them and their eyes lit up. They walked over excitedly, their faces flushed, stammering, Hello. Are you Faye and Ethan? We're big fans of you as a couple. Can we take a picture with you?" Faye didn't want to disappoint them, so after a moment's hesitation, she nodded. With her permission, the 2 girls stood between them, smiling for the camera. Ethan disliked having his picture taken, but he obliged, putting his arm around Faye and looking at the camera with her. After the photo, the 2 girls thanked them profusely, their words filled with wishes for a long and happy marriage. A long and happy marriage. Faye looked up at Ethan beside her. The moment their eyes met, a doting smile spread across his face, his gaze as soft as water, as if he agreed with the girls' wishes. Only she knew they would never grow old together. At the bridal shop, the staff, who had been waiting at the entrance, eagerly greeted Faye as she stepped out of the car, their voices laced with envy. "Miss Faye, the 1,000 custom-made wedding dresses Mr. Cole ordered for you are all ready. You can try them on at your leisure and see which one you like. She didn't speak, just glanced at Ethan, who was standing quietly behind her, looking at his phone. His eyes filled with an unconcealable desire. It was the same look she had only ever seen in those sordid pictures of him and the internet celebrity. Noticing her gaze, he quickly put his phone away and walked over, a hint of apology on his face. Faye, I'm sorry. Something urgent came up at the office. I'll have the driver wait for you here. He'll take you home after you're done trying on the dresses. He kissed her on the forehead and then hurriedly got into another car, leaving her alone. A staff member came over, asking tentatively, Miss Faye, would you like to start trying on the dresses now? Faye looked away and shook her head. No, I don't want any of them. After all, their wedding would only have a dead bride. On the ride home, Faye had just unlocked her phone when a text from Sarah popped up. It was a screenshot of a chat. In the picture, Sarah was dressed in a black silk bunny costume, sitting seductively on the floor, her eyes hazy as she looked at the camera. If Master can get here in 20 minutes, he can do whatever he wants with his little bunny. Below, Ethan's black profile picture had replied with 2 simple words. Wait for me. Faye locked her screen and closed her eyes, trying to suppress the sharp, stinging pain in her heart. She thought that after seeing so many pictures, she would get used to it, that she would become numb. But the uncontrollable pain still swept through her, seeping into her very bones. Finally, she forced her eyes shut and turned off her phone. That night, Faye, her eyes red, curled up on the edge of the bed and fell into a deep sleep. The phone by her pillow vibrated every hour until the next morning. When she woke up and checked it, she saw that from the previous night until that morning, Sarah had sent her a picture every hour, all of them of used condoms. He was with me all night, trying all sorts of positions on me. I can't even get out of bed. Has he ever been like that with you? Faye didn't react, but she read the message and looked at the pictures over and over again, dozens of times. When Ethan returned, he found Faye lying in bed, her eyes red, her knuckles white as she gripped her phone. His heart skipped a beat. He rushed over and pulled her into his arms, his voice tense. Faye, why are you crying? Was she crying? Faye finally looked at him, belatedly touching her face, only to realize that at some point, tears had been streaming down her cheeks. After a long moment, she let out a small laugh, but it couldn't hide the sadness in her eyes. It's nothing. I just saw a very touching set of pictures. Ethan caressed her face, his voice doting. What pictures made you cry like this? Baby, are you trying to break my heart? Just as Faye was about to speak, the butler knocked on the open door. Sir, the car is ready. He grunted in acknowledgement and then turned to kiss the woman in his arms. Faye, I'm sorry about yesterday, leaving you alone at the bridal shop. To make it up to you, I'll take you to an auction. I'll buy you whatever you want. Okay. Faye didn't answer, but he took her silence as assent. He swept her up in his arms, carried her out of the room, and then personally helped her choose her clothes, jewelry, and shoes. At the auction, to please Faye, Ethan spent a fortune in the first half, buying every single treasure, even though she showed no interest in any of them. During the intermission, a few of Ethan's friends came over. I was wondering who was so extravagant, buying up everything in the first half. Turns out it was you, Ethan. And here I was, hoping to buy a gift for my grandmother's birthday. Well, came up empty-handed. Your reputation as a doting husband is well deserved. Man, give me a chance in the second half. Let me buy just one thing. The men joked with Ethan, but he only glanced at them before turning his attention back to peeling an orange for Faye. You won't have a chance in the second half either. All of today's items belong to my Faye. The men groaned in mock despair, clutching their chests. But they had to admit defeat. A small smile played on Ethan's lips, but he ignored them, focusing only on peeling the orange and offering it to Faye. Faye, her expression detached, shook her head. I don't have an appetite. You eat it. Soon, the second half of the auction began. Just then, the main doors opened, and a waiter respectfully escorted in a woman in a short red dress. The next second, Faye felt Ethan's body stiffen beside her. She looked up and saw Sarah's vibrant face right in front of her. Sarah took a few bills from her purse and tucked them into the waiter's pocket with a seductive smile. Before he could react, she had already taken a seat next to Ethan. The people in the room gasped. whispering and speculating about Sarah's identity. How could that internet celebrity be so bold as to sit next to Mr. Cole? Isn't she afraid he'll have her blacklisted? Shh. Keep it down. You don't know anything. I heard she has a powerful backer. Haven't you seen all the designer jewelry and bags in her live streams? Just as Faye was about to look away, she saw Sarah brazenly take Ethan's hand and place it under her skirt. Ethan's hand froze, and he instinctively tried to pull it back. But Sarah just smiled and held it there, shifting slightly. Finally, Ethan stopped resisting. He didn't pull his hand away. Faye jerked her head to the side, trying to control her trembling hands. Throughout the second half of the auction, Faye was completely distracted. It wasn't until the final item was brought out that the gasps and murmurs of the crowd pulled her back from her pain. Faye looked up and saw a dazzling necklace resting on a velvet cloth. The auctioneer was passionately describing its history. It was said to have been Queen Elizabeth's favorite, a symbol of eternal, faithful love. Perhaps sensing Faye's interest in the necklace, Ethan raised his paddle without hesitation. 10 million. A female voice immediately followed from beside him. 30 million. He turned his head and saw Sarah, also holding a paddle. Noticing his displeased look, she gave him a seductive smile, her eyes full of allure. Sorry, Mr. Cole. My boyfriend loves me very much too, so he wants to give me this necklace. Ethan's face darkened. 50 million. 100 million. 150 million. Finally, Ethan simply made a gesture. The auctioneer, excited, banged his gavel. He's lit the lantern. Mr. Cole has lit the lantern. Congratulations to Mr. Cole on winning this Heart of True Love. As thunderous applause erupted, Ethan discreetly withdrew his hand and kissed Faye on the cheek. Stay here, darling. I'll go get the necklace for you. Faye watched him get up and leave. Then, Sarah also stood up, giving her a meaningful look. After everyone had left, Faye finally unclenched her fists. Her nails had dug so deep into her palms that they had drawn blood. But as if she couldn't feel the pain, she stood up and walked out. The screen of her still lit phone displayed a single read text message. Underground parking garage. Perhaps because all the other guests had left, the vast, empty parking garage contained only a single Maybach. Anyone who tried to approach was quietly intercepted and turned away by a young driver standing in the distance. So no one noticed that the car was gently rocking. A woman's moans and a man's grunts drifted to Faye's ears. She suddenly lost all her strength and leaned helplessly against a pillar, staring at the scene before her. The back door of the car was wide open. Inside, the two were naked and entangled. Sarah's legs locked tightly around the man's lean waist. Her sobs muffled. Gently. Master, your little bunny can't take it. Ethan's eyes were dark. Isn't this what you wanted? You'll take it, no matter how rough. With a grunt, he tightened his grip on her waist. Faye clamped a hand over her mouth, unable to watch any longer. She turned and fled the scene in a state of utter devastation. She didn't know how long she ran before she finally collapsed in a stairwell, pressing a hand to her heart, gasping for breath, large tears streaming down her face. She had thought the scene at the auction was painful enough, but what she had just witnessed in the car was suffocating. After she and Ethan got together, he had been so innocent. His face would flush when he held her hand. He would tremble when he kissed her. Even on their first time, he had held back, waiting until she had accepted his proposal. She had laughed and asked him how he could have so much self-control. He had just held her and kissed her, his voice hoarse. Baby, no man can control himself in front of the woman he loves. It's just that I love you so much. I wanted to wait until everything was settled, so you wouldn't have any regrets. He had treasured her so much. At the time, her heart was filled with warmth, convinced she had found the right person. But now, reality had slapped her in the face. She buried her face in her hands, her sobs echoing in the empty stairwell. After what felt like an eternity, Faye numbly stood up and walked towards the restroom. Just then, her phone vibrated. Sarah had sent another post. Codal picture. The back seat of the car was a mess. A pile of torn stockings in the corner. This car is filled with the son of us. And Ethan has agreed to give me your necklace. The heart of true love is mine now. Faye didn't look any further. She just turned off her phone. When she emerged from the restroom, her makeup redone. She finally ran into Ethan, who had come looking for her. His hands were empty. As expected, the next second, she was pulled into his arms. A faint, familiar scent of perfume assaulting her senses. She was about to push him away when his apologetic voice sounded above her head. "Faye, that necklace had a flaw. It wasn't suitable for you. I'll buy you an even more brilliant one next time." "Okay." She took a deep breath and looked up. Her voice choked. "What if that's the necklace I want?" Ethan looked at her tear-stained face, his heart clenching as if in a vice. He quickly tried to soothe her. "Baby, Faye, don't cry. Okay, that necklace really isn't right for you. I'll send someone to buy you a new one right now. How about that?" At this, she laughed. Before, whenever she wanted something, he would get it for her immediately. Now, he was making all sorts of excuses for another woman. It wasn't just his body. It seemed his heart was gone too. Seeing her expression, his own heart ached. Just as he was about to say more, she pushed him away, her voice filled with weariness. "Forget it. I don't want it anymore." Watching her dejected figure walk away, he instinctively started to follow. But then he saw her stop. He followed her gaze and saw Sarah walking past them, the heart of true love sparkling around her neck. His face paled, just as he was about to say something. Faye acted as if she hadn't seen anything and walked right past Sarah. Only after Faye's figure had completely disappeared did Ethan grab Sarah's hand tightly. "Are you insane? I told you not to appear in front of Faye. She's my bottom line." Sarah, despite being yelled at, showed no sign of remorse, just smiled faintly. "I'm sorry." It's not like she noticed. "I won't do it again." She then lowered her collar slightly. "To make it up to you, I'll compensate you tonight." "Okay. I have an even bigger surprise for you." Ethan's Adam's apple bobbed, his eyes darkening. That night, Ethan didn't come home, leaving only a message about an urgent matter at the office. Faye knew he was lying, but she didn't question him, didn't argue. She just quietly went about her business. Since she was going to fake her death and leave Ethan for good, she had to erase all traces of her existence. When the time came, besides a fake corpse, she would leave him no memories. She spent 3 hours gathering all her belongings and burning them. Then, from the bottom of a bookshelf, she dragged out a large box. Inside were the birthday gifts Ethan had given her over the past 10 years. At 15, he gave her her first love letter, his youthful handwriting filled with a deep affection. At 18, he gave her her first pair of crystal shoes, saying he wanted to walk the rest of life's path with her. At 20, he gave her a pink diamond crown, saying she would always be the princess he held in the palm of his hand. At 22, he gave her a diamond ring he had designed and made himself, saying she was finally of legal age to marry, and he would propose to her every year until she said yes. Faye packed up these gifts without a second thought and listed them all online for $9.99 with free shipping. Items worth millions, sold for a pittance. They were snatched up almost instantly. After the delivery person had collected the packages, she was about to go to her room to rest when the front door was thrown open. Ethan, looking disheveled and panicked, rushed in from the rain, grabbing her hand, his voice trembling. "Faye, what do you mean? Selling all the gifts I gave you for $9.99. Faye looked up at him. He looked as if he had rushed back at top speed. His coat was soaked through, but he didn't seem to notice, his face a mask of panic. She asked softly, "How did you know?" "It's all over the news. It's a trending topic." Just as Faye was about to say something, he pulled her into a hug, his trembling voice filled with fear. "Faye, what do you mean by this? You sold everything. Are you leaving me? Don't you want me anymore? What did I do wrong? Don't leave me. I'll change. I'll change." "Okay." By the end, his voice was tinged with a sob, but she just stared ahead, her expression blank, a hint of self-mockery in her eyes. If he's so afraid of her leaving, why is he keeping another woman on the side? Is he that confident that he's hidden it well? Or does he think she's too foolish to find out? Now, just the thought of her leaving throws him into such a panic. She was looking forward to seeing his reaction when he saw her corpse at the wedding. She gently pushed him away, her face calm. "It's not what you think. I just didn't like them anymore, so I sold them. Besides, we're about to get married. Why would I leave you for no reason? Have you done something to wrong me?" The first part of her statement had caused the knot of fear in Ethan's chest to loosen. But the second half made his expression change again. He gripped her hand tightly, swearing, "No, baby. I would never do anything to hurt you. You know that. You know how much I love you." Faye's lips curved into a smile. "If you haven't, then what are you worried about?" "Well, it's late. I'm going to bed." She turned and left. Ethan's heart was still pounding with fear, but he kept telling himself, "That's right. We're getting married soon. Soon. Faye will be mine. Nothing will go wrong. Nothing." Because of her recent, unexpected actions, Ethan had been feeling a constant sense of unease, so he stayed with her all night. As dawn broke, his phone lit up. The moment he unlocked it, the drowsiness vanished from his eyes. He glanced at the girl beside him, kissed her, and then quietly slipped out of bed. The next second, Faye's eyes opened. She looked at her own phone. She had just received a message from the faked death agency. They had found a body in the hospital morgue that looked very similar to her. They had already done some detailed work on it and wanted her to come and see if any further adjustments were needed. In the morgue, a body with a striking resemblance to her in both build and facial features lay on the slab. If she weren't standing right there, she would have thought the corpse was her. It seemed Ethan wouldn't have any suspicions. Now, everything was ready. All that was missing was the final push. After a brief discussion with the staff, she returned to the first floor. As she passed the obstetrics and gynecology department, she glanced inside. Just one glance, and she froze. Not far away, Ethan was supporting Sarah, whose belly was slightly rounded. As they walked out of the examination room, she watched as Ethan treated Sarah like a precious treasure, carefully guiding her, his face filled with the joy of an expectant father. "Sarah is pregnant. Is the baby Ethan's? They have a child." Faye didn't know how she got back to the villa. In the dark house, the only light came from her phone screen. Just as it was about to go dark, a text from Sarah popped up. It was a picture of a pregnancy test and a link to a live stream. "I'm pregnant. 3 months along. The father is very happy. By the way, tonight the father and I are going to celebrate with our fans on a live stream. If you're happy for us, you can join too." Faye's stiff fingers moved, the cold from her fingertips spreading to her heart. As she clicked on Sarah's live stream, she subconsciously tapped the screen record button. Soon, Sarah, in a maternity dress, appeared on screen, her face glowing with the joy of a new mother, sharing the news of her pregnancy with her fans. The comments were filled with congratulations. Suddenly, a large, well-defined hand appeared beside Sarah. It was a hand that Faye knew all too well. That hand had kissed her, held her, wiped her tears, put a ring on her finger. But now, that hand was gently caressing Sarah's belly. "Even if you don't need to rest, the baby does. Be good. Go to sleep." Hearing that deep, alluring voice, the viewers went wild, begging Sarah to let her brother-in-law show his face. Amidst the countless pleas for him to appear, one comment popped up. "Am I hearing things? Or does that voice sound a lot like Mr. Cole?" But it was quickly buried by other comments. Sarah smiled shyly, letting Ethan hold her hand. "Your brother-in-law can't show his face. He's a big shot. You have to understand." Fortunately, the viewers didn't press the issue, instead asking to hear how Sarah and her brother-in-law got together. After several similar comments, Sarah looked at the person beside her and then smiled at the viewers. "My husband. He loves me so much. In high school, he wrote me a love letter. He was so afraid I'd reject him. He prepared for a whole day, even rehearsed it dozens of times. In the end, I was the one who took the letter and said yes." At this, the viewers spammed the chat with, "So sweet. I'm dying." Faye's grip on her phone tightened, an indescribable bitterness welling up inside her. How much did Ethan have to love Sarah to tell her all the details of their past? Plop. A tear fell onto the screen just as Sarah announced she was ending the stream. The viewers, who were just getting into the story, protested. Sarah looked at the person beside her again, then spread her hands in resignation. "It's not that I want to end it. It's that your brother-in-law is being clingy. He says it's time for our private time." Understanding the implication, the viewers shrieked, saying they wanted to participate too. Sarah covered her mouth and laughed. refusing. I wouldn't want to corrupt the young ones. A viewer suggested she could just turn off the camera but leave the audio on. Just as Sarah was about to say something, Ethan's hand reached out and turned off the camera. A gasp followed. Oh, the baby. The viewers went into a frenzy. Faye's hand, holding the phone, trembled, tears blurring her vision. But the sounds of Ethan and Sarah's intimate entanglement still pierced through the thin screen, turning into sharp blades that stabbed into her heart. And in the video, their voices grew louder. I can't eat anymore. Be good. See, you can eat it. Unable to watch any longer, Faye slammed her phone off. She stared at the dark ceiling. After a long time, her stiff fingers moved. Soon. It will be over soon. For the next few days, Ethan didn't return to the villa. Sarah's texts told her where he was. In the photos, Ethan was like any expectant father, kneeling before Sarah, his ear pressed against her belly, listening intently to the baby's movements. She closed her eyes, but not a single tear would fall. Until Faye's birthday approached. Ethan finally returned in a hurry and prepared a grand birthday party for her. When Faye came downstairs in her gown, Ethan was waiting for her. She looked at him, her eyes unusually calm, almost too calm. Seeing her like this, Ethan's expectant heart skipped a beat. In his memory, Faye was always vibrant and radiant. Not like this. With a pale face and lifeless eyes, he instinctively moved to embrace her. But she turned and dodged his arms, her voice hoarse. I haven't been feeling well lately. Don't touch me. I don't want to get you sick. She didn't look at his outstretched hand and turned away. Throughout the party, Faye was like an outsider, watching as Ethan, just like in the old days, celebrated her birthday and declared his deep love for her. The grand finale, of course, was his birthday gift. Every year, he would prepare a unique and exquisite gift for her. This time, it was a necklace that had once belonged to a European royal family. Priceless. The moment he brought it out, a collective gasp of awe filled the room. But she just lowered her eyes, hiding the irony in them, and didn't take the necklace from him. Ethan didn't think much of it, assuming she was just not feeling well. He put the necklace on for her, then ended the party early to take her home to rest. But just as he was helping her into the car, his phone rang. He glanced at it, then said to her apologetically, "Baby, I have something to take care of. You go home and get some rest. I'll be back to be with you as soon as I'm done." Okay. She didn't call him out on his lie, just nodded. With her permission, he kissed her and turned to leave. The moment he got out of the car, a text from Sarah arrived on Faye's phone. Follow him. There's a surprise waiting for you. She was silent for a long time before finally telling the driver to turn around and follow Ethan's car. Soon, Faye saw Ethan's car stop outside Sarah's villa. He didn't even have time to close the car door before he rushed inside. Faye's grip on her phone tightened, and she got out of the car, perhaps in his haste. The villa's main door was not fully closed. She looked up, and what she saw inside made her freeze. It was a birthday party, and not just any party. The guests, besides Ethan and Sarah, included all of Ethan's close friends, and even his parents. Her rational mind told her to leave immediately, that what was about to happen would be more than she could bear. But her feet felt as if they were nailed to the ground. She just stood there, watching as Ethan placed an identical necklace around Sarah's neck. His friends cheered. "It looks beautiful on you, sis." In-law. At this, Ethan shot them a cold look. "What are you calling her? You only have one sister." In-law. His friends made a zipping motion across their lips. "Don't worry, man. We'll only call her that in private. We won't let your darling know. Our lips are sealed. Ever since you introduced her to us 6 months ago, we've kept our mouths shut." Ethan's mother walked over and placed the family heirloom bracelet on Sarah's wrist. "Even though you've been kept in the shadows, as long as the baby is born, in my heart, you are also my daughter." In-law. Faye couldn't hear anymore. Her clenched fists fell to her sides, and she turned and left without a word. She walked faster and faster, as if being chased by demons. She broke into a run, faster and faster, until she finally fell. In that instant, lightning tore across the sky, followed by a torrential downpour that instantly blurred the streets. The rain soaked Faye's clothes. She looked at her scraped palm and suddenly remembered a long time ago. The first time Ethan took her to meet his parents. His mother had solemnly placed the heirloom jade bracelet on her hand and said, "I will only ever accept you as my daughter in law." His friends had smiled at her respectfully. Once a sister in law, always a sister in law. We only recognize you. But now, his mother was treating another woman as her daughter in law, and his friends were calling another woman sister in law. They were just like Ethan. They said they loved her and respected her, but in their hearts, they acknowledged another. And the most tragic part was, their conversation just now had made it painfully clear that they had known about Sarah long before she did. But they had all helped Ethan hide it from her. She was the only fool in the world. She crouched on the street, pedestrians rushing past, but no one offered her an umbrella. After the storm, Faye fell seriously ill, with a high fever that wouldn't break, leaving her in a daze. In the villa, Ethan's low roar of anger filled the room. "She's had a fever for 3 days. Why isn't it going down?" The doctors stammered, unable to give an answer. The atmosphere in the room was suffocating. Finally, with a grim face, he waved them all away. He sat back down in the chair, took Faye's hand, his eyes red. "Baby, please get well soon." But the woman on the bed remained pale, her eyes closed, showing no sign of response. Another night passed. Finally, Faye's fever broke, and she woke up groggily, her body weak, her throat dry and bitter. She tried to make a sound, but a loud crash came from outside the door. Then, Ethan's restrained voice drifted in. "Didn't I tell you not to come near her?" Sarah's hurt voice followed. "But the baby in my belly wants to see his daddy. And I brought you a surprise. Do you want to see?" Then, there was only the sound of rustling clothes and heavy breathing. "Why are you wearing that?" Sarah laughed, her voice so soft it could make a person's legs go weak. "Don't you like it?" The only answer was the man's heavier breathing. Faye couldn't listen anymore. She was about to bury herself under the covers when the door was suddenly pushed open. "It's cold out here. Let's go inside." "Okay." Her eyes flew open, and she looked at the reflection in the floor. Ceiling window. In the dim light, 2 entangled figures were reflected on the sofa at the foot of her bed. The rain outside grew heavier, the sound of it drumming against the glass. A cold draft seeped in through a half-open window, chilling Faye to the bone. After recovering from her illness, Faye was even weaker, the light gone from her eyes. She wrapped herself in a thick blanket and curled up on the lounge chair, staring blankly at the scenery outside. In contrast to her calmness, Ethan's eyes were filled with worry and panic. From the moment Faye woke up, she had barely eaten a thing. No matter how he coaxed her, she remained indifferent. He had brought her bowl after bowl of nourishing porridge, but she just sat there, not even looking at him. Ethan was frantic. The wedding was tomorrow, and she was still so listless. A sense of dread filled him. He tried to push it down and knelt before her, his voice pleading. "Faye, please eat something. I know you don't have an appetite when you're sick, but your health is important. I was so scared when you had a fever. If anything else happens, I'll really go crazy." Faye's eyes flickered, a hint of mockery in them. The next second, a single tear rolled down her cheek. She instinctively moved to wipe it away, but he was faster, gently and tremblingly brushing it away with his thumb. "Faye, what's wrong? Don't scare me. If something is bothering you, please tell me. Don't keep it bottled up." He started to embrace her, but she turned and dodged him. She finally looked at him, but her tone was so distant. "Ethan, take me to the beach." Ethan's outstretched hand froze, and he looked at her, surprised. "Baby, aren't you afraid of water? You've never liked the beach." Faye said flatly. "I suddenly feel like seeing it again." After all, her faked death was to be suicide by jumping into the sea. Hearing this, Ethan didn't say anything, just immediately had the butler prepare the car. On the way, he held the steering wheel with one hand and Faye's hand tightly with the other. This time, she didn't pull away. Seeing her being more compliant, a smile touched Ethan's lips, and he began to reminisce about their past. Back then, she was his whole world. He remembered details that even Faye had forgotten, from when she was a child and gave him a lemon candy with a smile, to high school when she held his arm and they danced for the first time, to their long-distance relationship when she took an overnight flight just to see him. You were the girl I had cherished since we were children. Yet you flew so far just to see me. I swore then that I would never let you suffer again. Faye. Ethan parked the car by the beach and looked into her eyes, his own filled with a deep love. I will love you forever. Faye smiled back, but her smile was tinged with irony. If you tell a lie often enough, you start to believe it yourself. They stood on the beach, nestled together, quietly watching the calm sea, enjoying a moment of peace. Just then, Ethan's phone began to vibrate violently. He ignored it and hung up, but the person on the other end was persistent, calling again and again. Finally, he glanced at the caller ID, then walked aside to answer. Faye didn't know what the other person said, but Ethan's expression changed, his eyes filling with desire. At the same time, Faye received a text from Sarah. Faye. So, what if you're getting married tomorrow? I bet if I call him, he'll come running to me. If you know what's good for you, you'll give up the title of Mrs. Cole. It wasn't the first time Sarah had tried to force her out, but it was the first time Faye had replied. Fine. As you wish. The next second, the man who had just hung up the phone rushed over, his face full of apology. Faye. I'm sorry. Something urgent came up at the office. Ethan, do you remember what I said to you the day you proposed? Faye's sudden question made his heart clench. I said that if you ever stopped loving me, you should tell me, and I wouldn't cling to you. But if you lie to me, I will leave you forever. A smile touched her lips, but it didn't reach her eyes. Ethan's grip on his phone tightened, his knuckles turning white. After a long silence, he finally reached out and stroked her hair, his voice trembling. Faye, I love you so much. How could I ever lie to you? In that instant, the last bit of love she had for him completely vanished. Faye let out a small laugh. Don't you have something urgent to do at the office? You should go. Ethan looked at her calm expression, and a nameless panic swept over him. He suddenly didn't want to leave. He was afraid that if he left, they would never see each other again. But thinking of the phone call, his grip on his phone loosened. Faye is right here. What could happen? Besides, we're getting married tomorrow. Reassured by this thought, he said, Faye, head home after you're done at the beach. I'll see you at the wedding tomorrow. He turned, got in his car, and disappeared from her sight. Faye just stood there, watching him leave, without trying to stop him, without trying to hold him back. 10 minutes later, a car pulled up on the beach. A man got out and walked over. Miss Faye, all your information in this country has been erased. Your new ID, new phone, and plane tickets are ready. From now on, no one in the world will be able to find you. She looked down and took the items, then handed her own phone to the man. Tomorrow, deliver the fake corpse directly to the wedding venue. And this phone, please hand it to the groom personally. She wanted him to know how Sarah had relentlessly provoked her all this time. She wanted him to know that when he had once again lied and left her for another woman, she had taken her own life in the sea. She wanted him to know that this was the last time they would ever see each other. For the rest of his life, he would be tormented by this moment, his heart torn apart. After giving her final instructions, Faye took her new identity documents and got into an unmarked car. Driver. To the airport. After the darkness, a golden dawn would break in the distance. Meanwhile, a woman's incessant crying and begging did nothing to lessen the force of the man on top of her. Only after Ethan let out a final grunt did Sarah's arms, which had been wrapped around his neck, fall limp onto the pillow. He chuckled and began to kiss her all over again. So delicate. Sarah. Her hand, covered in love bites, tracing patterns on his chest, her voice feigning hurt. What does it matter how delicate I am? You're about to marry someone even more delicate than me. His eyes darkened, and he kissed her. I told you, I can give you anything except the title. And, even if I get married, I will still love you and the child. His large hand gently caressed her rounded belly. Sarah gave him a seductive smile and wrapped her long legs around his waist. Then you'd better love me well. Ethan pinned her hands above her head with one of his own and pushed harder. The man's grunts and the woman's moans intertwined once more. On the eve of the wedding, Ethan finally got off Sarah and stood before the mirror, adjusting his groom's attire. He looked at the sleeping woman on the bed, his gaze softening. He leaned down and kissed her lips before quietly closing the door. It wasn't until he was in the car on the way to the cruise ship that Ethan finally turned his phone back on after having it off all night. He expected to see countless missed calls and texts from Faye. He had even prepared an excuse. But when the phone turned on, his hand froze. The screen was empty. He quickly dialed Faye's number, again and again. But there was no answer. A strange panic began to rise in his chest. But he tried to soothe himself. Faye had been unwell lately. She was probably still resting. Reassured, he placed the phone on his lap and looked out at the beach. In the distance, several ambulances and police cars were parked by the shore. A crowd had gathered, as if something had been pulled from the sea. His heart skipped a beat, and he instinctively looked away. The wedding venue was adorned with Faye's favorite blue roses and blue orchids. A renowned pianist was playing her favorite pieces. Below the stage, guests and the media waited in anticipation, looking at the main doors. Everything was perfect. All that was missing was the bride. The hands of the clock on the wall went round and round, but the doors remained firmly shut. The guests began to whisper amongst themselves. On the stage, Ethan grew more and more uneasy. His palms were sweating. Just as he was about to call Faye again, the doors were thrown open. A white figure slowly entered. He instinctively started to walk towards it, but then his steps faltered. It wasn't the bride. It was a white coffin. In front of the coffin were several staff members in mourning clothes. Ethan stood frozen, watching as they carried the coffin towards him, step by step. The moment they set it down, he finally snapped out of his daze and roared, "Who are you? Do you know what this is? Get out of here." But the lead staff member, as if he hadn't heard, walked up to him and bowed deeply. "Mr. Cole, please accept our condolences." His anger flared. He grabbed the man by the collar. "What nonsense are you talking about? Get out." He threw the man aside and started towards the coffin. But when he saw the face of the person lying inside, he suddenly lost all his strength and fell to his knees. Faye. A staff member walked over to him, his voice filled with sorrow. Miss Faye committed suicide by jumping into the sea 3 days ago due to severe depression. Her body was only recovered by the police this morning. Please sign the death certificate. Ethan couldn't hear anything. He stared at the person in the coffin, a sense of disbelief washing over him. That couldn't be his Faye. His Faye had always been so concerned with her appearance. A single scratch would make her cry for days, afraid of leaving a scar. But the Faye lying in the coffin now had a bruised face, her body pale and swollen from being in the water for so long. So how could the person inside be his Faye? With trembling hands, he threw open the coffin lid, wanting to see the body more clearly, to find proof that it wasn't her. But after a long, hard look, he had to accept the devastating truth. It was Faye. He reached out a trembling hand, trying to take her hand, but after several attempts, he couldn't bring himself to do it. "Faye, be good. Don't scare me. Get up." "Okay, this joke isn't funny." His voice broke at the end, but the person in the coffin remained motionless. A staff member, unable to watch any longer, came over to comfort him. "Sir, please accept our condolences. The most important thing now is to sign the death certificate so the deceased can be laid to rest. Get out." Ethan, with a sudden burst of strength, pushed the staff member away. "Who said she's dead? She's just sleeping." "No. Impossible. Faye loved him so much. How could she be dead?" Seeing his crazed state, the staff member handed him Faye's phone. "Sir, this was the only personal belonging found at the scene. You should take a look." Ethan hesitated before taking the phone and unlocking it. A flood of lurid, filthy pictures and words assaulted his eyes. The screen was filled with photos and videos of him and Sarah in bed. His face turned deathly pale. She knew. When did she find out? He frantically scrolled through the screen, finally reaching the top. The date was a month ago. Sarah had sent a picture of them in bed. "Just thought you should know. Your fiancé is in my bed right now." And the last message was from 3 days ago. Sarah's taunt. "Faye, so what if you're getting married? All I have to do is call, and he'll come running. If you know what's good for you, give me the title of Mrs. Cole." It wasn't the first time Sarah had tried to force her out, but it was the first time Faye had replied, "Fine, as you wish." Those few simple words struck him like a thunderbolt, his vision going black. He clutched his chest, gasping for breath. He couldn't hold it in any longer and let out a guttural scream, a wave of overwhelming grief crashing over him. "Aya." Seeing him break down, the staff member, with a flicker of pity, handed him Faye's depression report. Sir, according to the report, Miss Faye's depression developed and led to her suicide in just 1 month. If there had been timely intervention, she might not have. The staff member trailed off. But Ethan understood. He opened the thick diagnosis report. Every one of Faye's episodes was clearly documented. The first day she had an episode, she had cut her wrists several times. And he was busy comforting Sarah. The day she was found after a suicide attempt and taken to the hospital, he was celebrating Sarah's pregnancy, even doing a live stream with her. The day she jumped into the sea, he was whispering sweet nothings to Sarah, telling her that even if he got married, he would still love her and the child. Every time Faye had a suicidal episode due to her depression, he was with another woman, and he had never once noticed anything was wrong. Even if he had, his heart was still with another woman. Ethan clutched the report, his fingers trembling. Tears streamed down his face. Falling onto the cold marble floor, he buried his face in his hands and sobbed. The rest of the story details the aftermath of Faye's death. Ethan's life spirals as the truth of his affair is exposed online, leading to the downfall of his company. He becomes obsessed with the idea that Faye is not truly dead and finds a look-alike to live out his fantasy. Meanwhile, Faye, now living as Joy, has moved to New Zealand and found happiness with a kind man named Leo. Eventually, Ethan discovers she is alive, leading to a final, tragic confrontation. In the end, Ethan dies in the hospital, and Faye finds peace and a new life with Leo. The final part of the story describes Faye attending the funerals of Ethan and Sarah, who also dies tragically. She and Leo return to New Zealand and get married, finding a quiet, happy life together.